Hi everyone, as you know from my previous videos, I'm really bent on making this apple cider vinegar at home, and the results have been quite nice. I did throw away one experiment. That was sort of the wild experiment where I just threw apple juice into a container and hoped for the best. That one didn't come out so well. The two surviving ones are actually doing quite well. So if you go back and watch the other videos, or I can give you a quick recap here. This one right here is the controlled experiment where I made apple cider, hard apple cider first. So I made an alcohol, and then we converted to acetic acid, all very controlled. I added my own yeast, kept it all under wraps. This one I've smelled. I can kind of tell you it's coming out really well. We'll tackle that here in a minute. The other one was I took apple slices and put them in sugar water, made sure I used a red Solo cup, and put water in here to weigh it down. The whole idea here is to keep the apples away from oxygen, an anaerobic process, and that one has come out quite well. So far. I've just had to tend to it every once in a while. So we'll come back to this one here. I'll just go ahead and take the rubber band off here. All I did is keep this on here just to keep the fruit flies away, basically. And I'm going to smell this. Very potent. And the reason that I like this is because it gives you much more control. So I made a very hard apple cider, and I think that in turn has made a very acidic apple cider vinegar, and a very flavorful one too. I'm going to taste this in a minute, but I'm smelling it and it's good. And of course you still want to keep the mother. Part of this on the bottom is mother, part of it is just apple debris, but we'll pour this into another container in a minute. This is doing quite well, and now I didn't record this, but in the last couple of weeks there were bubbles coming out of the rim of this, so CO2 is escaping. And one of the questions I had about this was it going to make the alcohol first and then go ahead to the acetic acid? All I had to do was stir this once in a while, by the way, and just make sure the apples were always under the liquid. I'm smelling this. I'm getting much more of an apple cider or hard cider smell out of this first. So this seems to confirm the idea that the first process here is indeed going to go in those two steps. We're going to make the alcohol first, and then once that's done, then the acetic acid will begin to develop. Everything I've watched online, by the way, indicates this could be certainly weeks, if not months, in the works here. But I think it's going to be a good product. We just have to be patient. So I'll just kind of put the lid back on that one and put it aside a little bit. Now let's deal with this. The good old mason jar. And you can't go wrong with these. I can label the lids, and they have a nice resealable top. So I'm going to put this in here, being kind of careful to keep just a clear liquid in here, and and keep all the sediment on the bottom here and the mother, which we certainly do not want to throw away, because we're going to use this to keep making apple cider again and again and again. So I'm starting to see a little bit of debris in there. Now, it's not bad to have the mother in your apple cider. That's part of the nutrient process that people like so much about this. But I see a lot of sludge in here. I'll kind of show you on this camera. And it remains to be seen how much of that is a mother. And I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on how to keep this alive. But this is certainly good. And I'm just going to go ahead and drink this out of the jar. Oh my goodness. In fact, that is much more potent than any apple cider vinegar I've ever purchased from the store. But the nice thing about that process of an experimental approach is I can control this in the future, but I wanted to make sure I had a really good flavorful one, and this certainly is. In later videos, I'll be using this, and because people ask me, what do you do with this stuff? And there's several things I can do with apple cider vinegar. And of course, we'll make another check-in later on the submerged apple slices. So that's my segment today. Join me for the next segment of making apple cider vinegar at home.